So my name is Thomas Mead, and my story starts in Wilson, North Carolina. I grew up going to a Presbyterian church. So I ended up getting confirmed there when I was about 13 years old. I did not have a personal relationship with Christ. My relationship with others was struggling as well. Really, I was in bondage to sin. I would experience pleasure for a short time. It was short-lived, and really it was unfulfilling. I didn't really hear the gospel all that much until I was in high school, and I was going to a Baptist church in Wilson at the time. It's called Tabernacle Baptist. I started going there when I first learned how to drive. One of my mom's co-workers invited me to go there, and I showed up and heard the gospel, and I got saved. About a year after that or so, I started getting caught up with some bad friends, and I started getting busier. You know, later on in high school, you get the job, you start going to sports things, and I was in marching band at the time, so I used that as an excuse to stop going to church. And really the influences that had on my life, not attending church regularly, is what led into some of my poor decisions. And I allowed myself to be around bad friends, bad influences, that ended up affecting my life over the next couple years. At the latter half of high school and when I was in college, I ended up falling out, stopped going to church, ended up getting caught up in the drugs, and it really was not a good situation. My mental health was deteriorating, and that all changed when I started coming to Beacon Baptist. So I figured out about Beacon at NC State. We have a Bible study that we go to called Collegians for Christ. Somebody from my church in Wilson invited me or told me about it, so I went to go check it out, and I got in touch with Kevin Hazlett. So he was leading at the time and still does, and so I started going to that on-campus Bible study, eventually started coming here, and really that's when I started getting plugged back into church, was through that Bible study on campus. And with that, I began to make friends. It felt like a new family here. I mean, it first started with Sunday mornings, and really what it took to get me to come in on Wednesdays was somebody inviting me. One of my friends in college, he was coming, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Wednesday, just whenever he could. And I mean, he was just as busy as I was. And when he would invite me, I'd be like, "No, I have homework to do." It made me feel bad, because we can make time for whatever we want to do, whatever we love doing. And so I just was not making the time to come to church. So with him personally inviting me to come to church on Wednesdays, that's when I really started getting plugged into our adult Bible studies. After I started coming to Wednesday night Bible study more and more, I became more acquainted with and familiar with people my age or in similar circumstances with me, people who, when I was going through college, they were taking classes as well, or they were about the same age. So I started making some friends, and then I would see them in the church service, Sunday morning, Sunday evening. So that's really where I started getting plugged into Beacon Baptist. If you're in a situation that I was once in, where you're coming into church and you do not feel at home just with the things that are going on in your personal life, just know that there is healing, that there is forgiveness, and it starts at the cross. There's no worldly place that you're going to be able to find that kind of healing but at the hands of Jesus. So I hope that if you are in the same situation that I was, that you would continue to come to church to get the healing and support that you need. This is a hospital for sinners. This is not a museum for saints. Church is more than just a building. It's a people, it's a family that all come together to worship God. For me, coming back to church was getting into a local fellowship with believers and really experiencing the open arms of Christ, that there is grace and there is healing there. I came with shame, but I left with healing. I left with good community and a good relationship with Jesus Christ, and you can have that too. You can have that too if you seek Him.